evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Beneath Your Skin. This is Gaia, who just decided we can't be goldfish anymore. So we decided, Zoe and I'm not so crazy to speak about me in third person, second person, plural, and blah, blah, blah. And so we decided that from now we are hellhounds. Hello, my dear.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm approving of being a hellhound. I also said if I was a hellhound, I could go around and eat all the people that are bad. But then you realise we'd be very fat hellhounds. And be like, yum, 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 yum.
We can live with that.
Yeah. Well-fed hellhounds. I could do that.
Yes, exactly. So, people, you are warned. Don't be bad. Today, we are talking. No. Today, we want to talk about the movie The Conjuring 2, because as you know, we are analyzing the whole The Conjuring saga. This is the third movie in the saga, and I have to admit, it's not as good as the first Conjuring, but I love Ed and Lorraine. I love the chemistry between the actors until the very cliche moments, like the dogs turning into the crooked man with so much use of special effect that you see are fake, like my degree in physics and mathematics could be, because I am terrible at both. Until those moments, very American, very mainstream, the movie has its good points. Not as many as in the first movie, but it has good moments. It has good narration. It's enjoyable. It's really enjoyable. I personally hated some of the too mainstream things, like when Ed portrays the nun and at some point she's in a room and the shadow of the nun appears behind the portrait nailed at the wall, and two hands grabs the portrait and a figure run portrait first against Lorraine, and you are like, yeah, that's amazing. That's absolutely believable. And another thing I hate, people, please tell me if I'm crazy or not, when in pictures or in the portrait, even in the portrait, the big eyes glow in the dark. And you are like, is this supposed to be creepy, or can I laugh like a crazy girl? I did the second. So I was like, no, please, no. Yes, they did it. But what I liked is, like, the first movie, this one too, open with a small recap of another very famous horror story, the Amityville Facts. And I liked that the connection with the first movie is that, once again, Lorraine has a very terrible vision we don't know anything about. And what I liked is that, at least in this second movie, a glimpse of reality is shown when they are invited at the talk show, where they are accused to be a fake, a fraud. And I can understand that. I mean, if we know anything about Ed and Lorraine, we can believe they were real and really doing what they were doing, or we can believe they were faking everything. But we know their story. We can believe, and if we believe, we can also believe that there are so many people around the world who don't even want to talk about paranormal activities, because they don't believe in them, and it's real. It's normal for them to be put on trial of public opinion, because not everyone can believe, and not everyone is ready to believe. So scientifically, is right if people doubt them. And I liked that we are finally shown this dark side of their job. But they are two adult people. They are married. They have each other for support. So the critics hit them in a different way from how they hit Janet in England. She's a young girl. She comes from a family that is broken because the father is not in the picture anymore. There are problems with the other brothers. So it's very different. The situation she is living is totally different than the situation Ed and Lorraine are living in America. And at some point, Lorraine asked Ed to stop for a bit. And we have to wonder why. We will find out why she's so scared. But that's a good point. That's a good twist, and I liked it. What do you think, Zoe?
So I have some issues with this film. But okay, so this is another one that I saw in the cinema, and it just drives home that point of don't watch horror movies in the cinema, which is really annoying because it's a way to make money. But there's always annoying somebody in the audience going, "Ooh, don't do that," and it's just like it ruined the atmosphere. Rewatching it by myself in the dark in my living room, I could see a lot more of the atmosphere and the build-up and the tension, and all the things I liked about the first one was definitely still in here, which I really enjoyed. I think the first two acts, like the first 2/3 of the movie, are enjoyable. A couple of dodgy bits. I think it falls about completely at the end. I just don't like the last part of this movie at all. The other problem that I find hard to think is so I'm British. And I've been to Enfield. It's like it wasn't far from areas that I grew up in. I know, but as I was not alive when this actually happened because it was the 70s and I was born in the 80s. But as a British teen in when I was growing up, who was obsessed with ghost stories, this was one of the biggest ones that happened in the UK. It's known as the British version of Amityville. So there have been dramatizations, documentaries, books, and seen the newspaper clippings. So it was actually a story I knew before going into seeing it. So I was kind of so happy to see it again in another way. And then by the end of it, I hated how they Americanized something that's so British sounding. At first they really got the British stuff done well, and I was like, oh, they filmed it in England, everyone is British, they have the accents of that location and that kind of class background, and it's all doing really well. It's very British house, the school system, the uniforms, everything just felt it wasn't that different from when I grew up kind of thing. And it was so I loved how British it was, and every time they went back to America, I was like, I don't want to be back in America. I want to see this haunting. I absolutely couldn't stand this Varric storyline. This nun seemed to have come out of nowhere. Literally, all of a sudden, there's an evil nun that's sending her visions. And I'm like, why? Why is there this random demon? The actual original story of the Enfield haunting is scary and interesting enough for them not to introduce some weird killer nun into it. I'm like, she's got nothing to do with the Enfield haunting. There's other things going on there. But then they would go back to the Enfield haunting, and the way they did Bill's character, it's that subtle, beautiful build-up, walking down the corridor, and you just see him sitting in the chair, but the kid doesn't. That's lovely. The way the furniture moves, the use of that tent, and it always just being dark, and then you just hear a voice. Excellent. But yes, the build-up was good, and then suddenly you had the freaking CGI Crooked Man. And the thing is, that Crooked Man is a nursery rhyme as a Brit that I would have sang as a kid. So whenever the clock was going round, I was singing along of it because I know it. And you actually think about it going, actually, that's pretty creepy because it's a crooked man who lives in a crooked, and he found a crooked sixpence upon a crooked stile. And it's he brought a crooked cat who caught a crooked rat. And I'm like, I know it off by heart because I grew up with it, but it is kind of, but the CGI was so bad. It was just such an obvious CGI animated thing, which is really weird because whenever they showed Bill hiding behind something, he looked terrifying. He wasn't CGI, and if the parts that were, there was someone playing that role was so good. So the minute they started throwing CGI and then the big like, oh my god stuff, I'm like, whoa, whoa! I know you've got more of a budget for this one, but you've gone too big. And you're throwing in a freaking CGI crooked man. There's bloody nun that's just like that painting running scene is hilarious. But I have no idea why the nun was the demon in the house at Enfield because she has nothing to do with that. That house has its own demons. Like, yeah. So I was like, oh, why are they making it go bad? And then they skip over half of the stuff to concentrate on the scenes with the nun in America. So they skipped over the newspaper reviews and the picture. That's a really famous picture in the UK. You can find it if you look it up of like the objects floating and stuff, and like the girls. And it's like, where's the actual like the haunting coverage that the recordings and stuff from this event? Why are we seeing a freaking nun chasing Lorraine around her house?
Not only that, I don't even understand even now how she knew the demon's name.
Yeah, apparently she wrote it on the Bible.
How? Why? Oh, come on, I have big problems with the nun in general. I began already to watch that movie, and at the first sequence, I will be so salty the next episode. Guys, be ready because I will be so salty.
Yeah.
So I still don't understand. I loved the haunting part. The part in England is very good. I loved that the church wanted to be very, very quiet and wanted to question things before to send someone, because the coverage was already so big that the Vatican wanted to be sure the thing was real and genuine before sending someone, because after Amityville came out as something that was a fake, they didn't want to risk to be covered in mud, because we have to remember scandals are forbidden inside the church. The less scandal, the better. So I can understand a lot of things. I am not interested in how things are in America for Ed and Lorraine, because as I said, they are adult. They can fight the critics they get. I want to see this young girl being bullied at school, because of course it happened. Of course, when your face is on the newspapers, inside an article talking about your house being haunted, of course other kids are going to target you, because kids can be terribly cruel. It's in their nature. And I wanted to see that. I wanted to see the loneliness of this child with basically no one believing her, because the psychologist's role in this movie is very clear. She is skeptic. She thinks Janet is lying about everything, and the mother is in the fraud to get the house and some benefits and blah, blah, blah. I wanted to see that. I didn't want to see the nun. I didn't want to see the American line of the story. I wanted to see Janet struggling with the thing haunting her house and her real life, her everyday life. I would have been so much more interested. And at some point at the end, when they leave because they think it was all a fake and Janet is mentally ill, and then has this great revelation to play the two tapes together. Okay, that was a big woohoo!
Yeah, conveniently.
Why? Very, very convenient. How did you reach that conclusion? Why did you reach that conclusion when you were already on the train, ready to leave? I mean, that was too convenient. And what was even more convenient, they come back, they find the family friends still there, ready to bring them back. Okay, no. no, I wanted to see something a little bit more real without this big woohoo revelation. Woohoo, we need this because it's convenient. Woohoo! No, no, no. No,
Yeah.
I liked the first movie a lot more.
The first movie is a lot better, and it takes the time. This one isn't as subtle. It starts off well crafted and subtle, minus the American stuff and the freaking nun, and it was crafting it really nicely. And then it just suddenly started rushing. It started going, oh, rush, rush, rush. This is a CGI ghost. This is all fake. Ha 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 ha. Oh no, it's not fake. Ha ha ha. I've somehow, because the tape crossed each other, I suddenly got the idea to cross the tapes. I'm like, you were so methodical in the first movie about recording, investigating, like treating it like respectful and like an honest like investigation. And the idea that you did this investigation before the church can like sanction anything, and then all of a sudden you're just like random leaps of faith and like, you know, God told you to do this, and it turns out there's an evil nun in the house. And I'm like, no, it's just a house possessed by lots of dead ghosts. Like, and I hated how big the ending got. Like, the last movie was an exorcism in a basement. This one is a rainstorm, and it's like going to get impaled, and there's a crash, and I'm going to fall out the window and die. And I'm like, how about you just fight to save the girl's soul, and maybe, like, you know, find a reason and find why, you know, for the ghosts to go away. Not all this, like, I might fall out the window and the CGI thing's chasing me and Varric the nun is there having... Why would the nun tell you her name? He's like, oh, you've already told me it to you. You wrote it in the book. I'm like, why? Why would Varric do that if Varric's haunting Lorraine? And if Varric's haunting Lorraine, why is it in Enfield? Like, make it more... The first one was so much about the family unit, the family home, and everything. And this one, they had one of the most perfect stories of a family haunting and something that's really famous and well known. And then they were just like, no, CGI nuns. That's what this movie needs. That'll make this scarier.
And the nun, when she shows a real thief, oh, come on, she was exactly like Sauron's mouth in the Lord of the Rings extended edition. And you were like, wait a moment, why? I mean, a demon as powerful as Varrock reveals his name for whatever reason. He's inside a nun for whatever reason. We are going to talk about this in the episode dedicated to the nun.
Poor us.
And yeah, literally. She's hunting Lorraine. He, whatever, is hunting Lorraine. The demon is hunting Lorraine using the thing that she worries about the most, taking head from her. So we realize that 7 years ago, she saw Head dying. And that's why she wanted to stop doing what they are doing. This time the nun is showing her that she is going to kill Head in front of her. And when Ed is balancing precariously outside the window and he grabs the curtain, how is this supposed to hold your weight and a child weight? And you are like, okay, you are going to be the luckiest son of a bitch, because of course she's going to save you. What I liked in the movie is the relationship between them, how much he trusts her, and she's terrified by her visions, but Head trusts her. So he thinks that God sent her the vision so that she can save him. And of course she does. It's the way she does that doesn't make any sense. This demon is supposed to be as powerful as something coming straight from hell can be. The demon keeps enslaved the other ghosts in the house. The exorcism lasts 2 minutes,
Yeah.
1.5. Really? So to send back such a powerful demon to hell, it only takes what? She telling it, I know your name, I condemn you back to hell. Mm,
Yeah, no,
no, no,
it's not
no.
how it
The
works.
end, no, the end ruined the movie. It got some good points. It was very well done because it was very well filmed, like the first one. It's just the end is too rushed, but it's obvious because they wasted so much time telling us what was happening in America that they didn't have enough time to keep things flowing like they did in the first movie.
Yeah,
And we have to remember something. In the first movie, they exorcised what was a witch. So, yes, Satan's servant, but still a witch. This one was supposed to be this big, huge demon coming from hell. And you needed half an hour to exorcise the witch and 2 minutes to exorcise the demon? Really? I don't think that's how it works.
no, it really just it lost its plausibility. And it's just like I hated the ending of this so much. It was just like, oh, you had such interesting setup, and then yeah, and then you just went full Hollywood at the end, and it's a shame because there's such like when you look at like the set and the house and like the pictures of what it really did look like and stuff. There's so much attention to detail in this like house. It's so much good attention to detail and the mise en scène of recreating the original like location is amazing, and the performances are good. I liked this poor family. The kids were good. They were well acted. You cared about them. Ellen and Rain have amazing chemistry. You can just tell that they love each other. But my problem with that was by the end of the movie, it got a bit too much about the power of their love, and I'm not romantic, so I'm just like, no. I can believe a mother's love can save a child, but I don't believe like that kind of like husband wife love is going to save you from like the demons of hell, like because like that it's not integrated into the story. Like the mother's love was the only thing that can combat the witch's possession in the first movie because she doesn't know what it means to love like a mother. So she's missing that in herself, and that's what gives the mother the strongest power because that's what she has in herself, so much love to give her children. So there was a reason for that. This one, it's like Lorraine's love for Ed and a 2 minute exorcism saved the day, but there isn't the counterpart to that kind of like. That's just they didn't have a reason for that power to be the thing that like no, your love doesn't save the day in an exorcism just like that. Your love can give you the power to have the strength to bring someone back from possession, but no, there's like, and oh, it was just like, no, this is wrong, this is silly, and you're annoying me.
And I think the whole subplot with the cross, the same cross that Ed's fathers gave him, and then he gives it to Janet with the promise when she will grow up, she will give the cross to someone she loves and who needs it, and everything. Sadly, the whole thing is too religious,
Yeah.
and it doesn't suit the movie.
No.
It should have been more subtle. I can understand why they think that the love for Head can give Lorraine the power to save Head because love is a gift from God that demons don't have, but they have other powers, and that kind of love can't be powerful enough
Yeah.
because that kind of love is not used against the demon. I mean, it could have been worked somehow if she used the love God gave her to somehow purify the demon, because the demon can't have any protection against that kind of love because they never experienced that kind of love because they rioted against God. They deny God's existence and presence, so they don't know how to fight that kind of love. That would have made sense, but not like this. They ruined themselves at the end.
Yeah. It's really weird because obviously that subplot with the necklace, like he didn't have one in the first movie. But in the first movie, Lorraine had a subplot about a necklace. So it's like, oh, we must have another necklace subplot? Are you trying to launch your, like, Conjuring Universe jewelry line? Because it's just like, so, like, you never hear about her necklace ever again. And then suddenly he's got this powerful cross necklace that he didn't think to get out at all in the first movie if he knew it could shun demons. Like, he was like, I've got this as my power. I'm like, well, why didn't you get that out in the first movie? Like, where was that? Like, it was just a really, yeah, just kind of too, like, just too obvious, too cliche, and not subtle. And the first one, like, just was subtler. And this one got silly.
No, in the first movie, his power was his bad Latin, because really it was bad.
The power of bad Latin compels you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I was a demon, I would be so picky. I would correct Ed during the exorcism.
Feel like I'm a demon of grammar.
Like the bitter grammar bitch I am. So that would be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm picky. So do you have anything else to say about the movie?
There is one thing that I found interesting, and that was the end credits. I love the end credits because I love seeing pictures of the family. But I noticed, you know how the pictures kind of blur and then they flash into the next one? There is one, and it must have only been like a second, where somewhere in the reel of films, you quickly see Annabelle, and I was like, ooh! Annabelle may have been a shit movie, but that's really, like, interesting. Like, it's really weird because Varric the Nun has not been in any of the three films, like, things. But Annabelle, just that brief, like someone had spliced in subliminal messaging. Rise. I thought that was a neat little trick to kind of go, and Annabelle's still here, goodbye. And it's just, she just like literally like popped in, popped out, like less than a second of her blink and you would have missed it. And I liked that little touch.
Yeah, I agree. I have to admit I almost missed it, but then I realized, hey, I know the creepy doll, and she was already gone. So yeah, that's true. I think it was the preparation for the fourth movie in the franchise that is going to be Annabelle Creation, if I'm not wrong.
I think so.
Woohoo!
That's my one. Okay. That's my next watch. Can't wait.
Yeah, me neither. And I can't wait to reach the Nan moment.
We are going to hate that movie.
Oh, yes. And people, I think this is all for today's episode. Thank you for listening. And if you want to join us, you can find us on Facebook. Just look for Beneath Your Skin. Drop a line on our Twitter account at beneath_your. We are on Spotify under Beneath Your Skin, and you can follow us on our website on Pinecast. So thank you for listening. Thank you for bearing with us while we are salty and bitchy. And see you soon. Bye-bye.
As always, Gaia, it's a pleasure talking to you, and it's a pleasure doing these reviews for the fans. I'm going to now plug that if you like the story of the Enfield haunting, then do check out the book, An Enfield Poltergeist, which is written by a guy who witnessed it, and also a great British drama called An Enfield Haunting, which is, in my opinion, the superior version, and it's really worth checking out. It's well done. But for now, I'm just saying byes.